project that you would know about because we've met and we've discussed this particular project, as well as A&T Energy, who is putting forward a project on solar panel construction in the Valrita area. Can you tell me why two locally owned projects that are community-based were bypassed in favor of an international project?
No, Mr. Speaker. The Ontario Power Authority makes the decisions as to how these projects move forward, Mr. Speaker, and they make it based on a number of large amount of criteria. But I'm sure the member joins me in celebrating the fact that what we announced last week is going to create 20,000 jobs in every corner of this province. What we announced last week, Mr. Speaker, is the equivalent of a $9 billion in private sector investment in Ontario's economy, Mr. Speaker. 184 new projects, green projects, that are going to deliver 2,500 megawatts of clean, green power to the people of Ontario. Mr. Speaker, it was a good day for green energy in Ontario last week when the Premier and I made these announcements. And Mr. Speaker, there's more to do, and there'll be more projects moving forward, but I think we're off to a pretty good start, Mr. Speaker. We're leading the world.
Well, a pretty good start depends where you stand. In the case of Hearst, you've got a locally owned project where they're going to basically clean up an area that has been polluted for a number of years. We've met on this issue before. It's locally owned, locally operated, locally sourced. In the case of Valrita, all local ownership, again, sourced all within the province of Ontario. Tell me what the downside is for the Ontario government to say that we're not going to favor those very projects that are community-based projects that come from Ontario in favor of projects that come from outside of this province.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. And the member's right. I've had an opportunity to meet with the mayor and himself on this particular project, and I'll continue to work with them. I think there's a lot of potential there. At the same time, the Ontario Power Authority, when they make these decisions, make them on a number of criteria, one of which is shovel readiness, Mr. Speaker, and I'm not going to speak for them in terms of the criteria and their judgment on this, but I think the project the member raises has potential, and we're going to continue to work with them. But, Mr. Speaker, there is potential for expansion of green energy right across this province. There are lots of good opportunities out there. All I can say, Mr. Speaker, is 184 projects were moved forward last week. $9 billion investment when you include the mid-range projects we announced a month ago. 20,000 jobs.